how you going?
How's it going?
Apples.
Well, that's the resilient apple right there, the red one.
I like it.
You know, that's how resilient people feel. You know, they're like a red apple in a barrel of or a bushel of green apples, but yet they stay in there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're hoping that they can rub off on the other apples. But anyhow, it's all good. I'm glad I'm on your show. It's way past my beauty sleep here in the States. It's
I truly appreciate that.
no, I'm usually in bed by 9 o'clock, but I get up really early, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Appreciate what you're doing, and it's your show, so I'm here for as long as you want me. And yeah, things are good. Amazing opportunities every day, right?
Yeah, that's it. No, I value that so much. And when I took a look at your profile, I was having a look at some of your posts, and I'm thinking, yes, I'd love to reach out to him, see if he'd like to come on, even though we're on opposite sides of the world. And yeah, that I was thinking more about the time we're going to be able to find a time slot. So I truly do appreciate you coming on so late at night.
No worries. Yeah, I've got some friends down under, and some Army buddies down there, and they're all Australian Army veterans. But it's great that we have these tools that we can network, everywhere. And
Yes.
I really love what you're doing because I've got my philosophies on what the state of the world is. And a lot of men don't like hearing it, but it's true. And to me it is anyways. This whole thing about about calling and not finding your calling and not really living your purpose. And
Yes.
I think the industrial age has done a huge disservice to mankind.
Yeah.
Because it took us off our games. And I think women are really just mad. They're mad because, not saying that they can't fill a role of a man, but they're mad because they shouldn't have to. And we need to have this respect between masculinity or men and women, and masculine and feminine. We need to understand the roles. And I'm on a trajectory too. So, it's been fun.
Oh, well, this is exciting. I reckon let's just get straight into it. So
yeah, I was kind of really happy to see you, a men's resiliency coach, because I'd never met one before. I had a therapist who one time told me, months into my cognitive behavioral therapy to deal with the brain injury, she said, "You're like the poster child for resiliency." And I had heard the word, but I never really knew what it meant.
Yes.
And she said, "You've been building blocks for it for over 4 decades."
Yes.
The aftermath of a childhood sexual assault, and never, as a guy, never telling anybody about it.
Yeah.
And, dealing with the whole male culture in the world, and what men do and what they talk about. And I've never been confused about who I am.
Yes.
But I was always confused about the way my kind thought, and something never added up to me. But that's a different story. Shoot away, fire away. What do you want me to do? It's your show. And yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, to expand on that, because I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, when I was assaulted by a much bigger kid when I was between the summers of the 3rd and 4th grade.
Yeah.
And so when kids were picking out teams for kickball, I was wondering if people thought that somehow I was, a deviant or a homosexual, or, because what happened wasn't cutesy, and it wasn't supposed to happen. And, if you had seen the cover of my book, one of the books I have shows me the summer before the perpetrator did his thing, and then the next picture taken, and nobody noticed the shift, the change. And so I got into creative writing almost right away, and I was writing poems like "Why I Hate Being a Guy." And as this progressed, and some of my fraternity brothers in college may not like this, but talking about conquest and we're all vying for attention. And I, you're one of the guys, you're trying to fit in, but I never was comfortable with disrespecting the opposite sex. It just never sit well with me. And I think that cultures do that. There's this rift formed. Somehow we think that women are the weaker sex, or somehow, if we only understood how strong that we truly are and how much we could add to the societal mix, if we practice more etiquette and self-respect. But when you're playing a role, guys out there, and you know what I'm talking about, when you're playing a role, some things just don't feel right. And those things to me just never felt right. Disrespecting other human beings, regardless if it's a female or a male. It just never sit right with me. Maybe it was the way I was raised, but I never really liked those kinds of things. And when we talk about resiliency, we were joking about this picture, but resilient people feel like a red apple, and they're in a bushel of these green apples. And I just picked the picture out 30 minutes ago thinking, what would look good there? But that's kind of how do you teach resiliency, and what is it? And it's basically being that red apple and wanting to be part of society, knowing that we're all kind of different and bad things happen to red apples. But you still want to be in the bush. And so you just keep getting in there, and you try to blend in, and you hope to blend in. And sometimes these traumas make it difficult. But you keep getting up, and you keep trying. And I've got a whole program about how I was able to get back in the game. But Mandy, I thought I had it figured out. That happened to me. I never talked about it. I kind of stuffed it, and then went about my life. Was very fortunate that I was able to attend a college and get my degree. And then I was a corporate manager for a few years, and decided I wanted to serve my country a little bit later at 26 years old, and, enlisted in the Army here in the States, and, went through that and did real well, made a lot of friends. And I was fortunate not to have to go to combat, but many of my friends are combat veterans. We speak that language. And then I kind of went about my business, met my wife. She had 2 sons from a previous marriage. And that was kind of interesting, getting married to a family that's already ready to go. And, played the role of the stepfather. And my wife and I ran a very successful business. We sold backpacking gear and travel gear, and in Florida, of all places, here in the States. There's no mountains here. There's no real adventure. Well, there is adventure, but, went about, was very active in the community. And then one night, one of my employees' wives went back to Peru on a vacation, and my wife went north to Virginia to visit her mom, and we thought we'd go out and play a game of pool. And we did. So we went out to shoot some pool, and had a couple glasses of wine. And on the way home, was involved in an accident. And part of that accident involved a head injury, which gave me a what they call traumatic brain injury. And it was, I had a real hard time putting together sentences and thought patterns. And I was immediately angry and resentful. And my whole personality really almost changed overnight. People noticed it, and I was starting to lose friends and wondering what's wrong with John. And my wife got back to town, and started treating her not real nice, like emotionally abusive, and nothing physical. I would never hurt anybody like that. But, within a very short order, it forced the sale of our business that was basically my identity. I ran guided trips to the Andes, and was an adventurer, and all those kinds of risky behaviors, which I learned about later on. But and then it wasn't long before I found myself embroiled in a divorce. And my wife really literally wanted nothing to do with me. I was an insomniac. I was angry, and it all stemmed around that assault that I hadn't dealt with for over 4 decades.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I'm fortunate to have all my teeth and I can still think, and I can put together sentences, and that was months and months and months of work to do that.
Yeah.
But the universe intervened, and my wife had to take off to go to Virginia to take care of her mom, who had fallen and had gotten injured. She was in her 90s. And so here I am sitting in Florida, feeling sorry for myself, and at the home during the holiday season, and thinking to myself, I don't think I want to start over.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to get a divorce, but she's got her attorney, I've got mine. We're spending thousands of dollars, and it's just not nice what people do to each other in that process.
Yes.
So I got in my pickup truck and I drove from Florida to Virginia on Christmas Day, 2015, and surprised her and knocked on the door Christmas morning. And I think she was surprised.
Yes.
But she really didn't want me there.
Yeah.
And she basically, for all intents and purposes, said, this, it's over. Thank you for visiting, but you need to get on with your life. And what a blow that was, right?
Yes.
So I get in my truck, I head south to Jacksonville, which is on the east coast of Florida, and I get a room at the Holiday Inn Christmas Day.
Yeah. Holiday
Inn Express. And I'm like probably the only guy in the whole hotel. I was the next morning, but I got no sleep that night. And breakfast the next morning, like I said, it was just me and the lady that was working behind the chow line. And I had breakfast, and I wasn't feeling good. Something wasn't right inside. And so I got in my truck and got on the interstate highway and was having thoughts and feelings about not wanting to be here anymore.
Yes.
Letting her have it all. And
yeah,
what am I going to do? I'm 54 years old at the time, and I don't need to go through this, right? And so, I made the call. I made that call to that crisis hotline while I was driving down the road at 70 miles per hour, and I got to hand it to those people at those crisis hotlines, because they literally do save lives. And I don't know that young woman. I don't know her personally, but I send out everything in the universe, thanking her madly for talking to me for an hour. And what she told me is that she couldn't save my marriage, but she could save me. And how much was I willing to go through that process? Because it's not easy to face yourself and your demons. And so I got into cognitive behavioral therapy. There was some cognitive speech stuff, that I had to go through. And I began the journey of self-forgiveness and self-love. And I learned a lot of things during that. So what happened was I learned some techniques. We can talk a little bit about them, but that was in January of 2016. And my therapist, God bless her, said to me, "You're going to have to let your wife go." And she basically said the same thing that the woman on the phone said. She said that we can't save your marriage, but we can save you. Forget about your marriage. So a lady friend of mine, professional lady friend of mine, told me, who knew me very well, she said, "John, with your wife, just practice love. It'll all work out." Right. So 11 months later, I get this card in the mail around Thanksgiving time here in the States, the turkey and all that. And it basically said, "I wanted you to know that I had spoken to my attorney this morning, and I've seen a huge change in you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you."
Wow.
And I was by myself, right? And fell to my knees and thanked God. And I felt like it was the hardest thing I'd ever earned in my life, was to earn back a wife who had written you off. And I did it because of I wanted to change. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to live the way I'd been living, and kind of dealing with it. But to back up, it really began. I talked about self-love, which I didn't really understand. The love that I was used to is the love that's embraced by so much of the world, which is very, very topical and not real doesn't come from a divine heart-centered place most times. And so I mentioned insomnia, and part of the post-traumatic stress symptoms is insomnia.
Yes.
And the traumatic brain injury brought all that out. And so I'd get up at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I'd turn on every light in the house, and I'd pace and anxiety ridden, and just beating myself up and rumination and all the things human beings do to themselves when they've been traumatized. And she said, do me a favor. She says, go in there when this happens and turn on the light in the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And tell that person how much you care about them and how much you love them.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I'm up that night and I go in there and I'm actually looking around. Of course, I'm by myself because my wife's in Virginia, and I'm looking around, and I go up to the mirror and I said, I love you. And I was done. Right?
Yeah. Because it's really uncomfortable, right?
It's kind of crazy. But so that happened. And then the next night, and then I started doing things like, John, I think you're an awesome dude. I love you, man. Keep being who you are. And after a while, it starts snowballing.
Yeah.
And then after a while, after doing this technique, you start to believe it because it's true.
Yeah.
And if you don't love and appreciate who you are, you will never begin the road, the resiliency highway. Now you'll never begin the journey back of self-healing or healing. And that was the true beginning of that journey. So needless to say, unfortunately, my wife's mom passed away. She lived to be 94, almost 94. And I was there with my wife when her mom passed, and we're together now. We've moved away from Florida just this year.
Yes.
We've been in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley for the last 4 months.
Yes.
And we're rebuilding our relationship, but I'm involved in a lot of different projects, and I'm starting to have some fun again in my life, and it's taken me since 2012. So it's taken me, 9 years to turn it all around, and nothing's easy street. You still have to work through it. And I tell people all the time who have been traumatized that the feelings, the triggers never really go away.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go away, but what happens is it just changes. It feels different.
Yes.
Because you're different, and you have better ways of coping with these triggers and how to deal with them.
Yes.
You've dealt with people, and men especially. So, but men have a rough time because men have this stereotype that they're trying to fit into, and what the world wants us to be. And I smoke and joke and call it knuckle draggers, like Neanderthal. And it's just not healthy. It's it's not a healthy way to live a life. And I think it's one of the reasons the world is in such turmoil is because we have leaders that are not following their true calling in life, and they're doing what they think they should do or what society tells them they should do.
Yes.
And Mandy, there was a time in history when people followed their callings.
Yes.
The men and the women, and then entered the industrial age. Who has a calling? I want to go work in a factory 60 hours a week and work up a corporate ladder and really?
Yeah.
And that person might be an artist inside, or they might want to be a scuba diver instructor, or they might want to do something else, but society has them believing they have to do what they probably don't really want to do. And then, these polls come out all the time, and sorry, I'm talking so much. I had green tea right before I came on, but where they ask people, are you happy in your life? Are you happy? And we're not happy all the time, but how do you like your career? And why is it like always over 80% job dissatisfaction?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Because people just aren't feeling fulfilled, right? Not soul fulfilled.
Absolutely. I had this is kind of wild, and I can speak firsthand about it. I had a full ride college scholarship when I was a senior in high school to go to the University of Kansas art school.
Yeah.
Because I had a portfolio. We had a fantastic art teacher. I loved pen and ink, and did some watercolor. And I'll never forget, my dad says to me, son, you're not going to make any money in art. You need to go to business school.
Yeah.
Okay. Now think about that.
Yeah.
So I go to business school and do a great school, you know, and got my degree in hotel and restaurant management because I was working in a restaurant. I thought, well, what am I going to do in business? Oh, I like waiting on tables. I'll get a restaurant degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't fit the corporate mold. You know, I was an entrepreneur and I was an artist. And what am I doing this for? I felt like the square peg in the round hole.
Yeah.
And I think there's millions of square pegs and round holes out there that are trapped.
Yes.
Then the bills start rolling in, and we've got all this unhappiness, not just in America, but globally.
Yeah.
And confusion and anger and it's a mess, isn't it? It's a mess.
Yeah. Big time it is.
So I think that people, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, self-discovery and resiliency and all these great things to get your life back on track takes hard work.
Yes.
You know, you have to be willing to do it. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they start off on this track and they feel motivated and they're inspired, and then they make a mistake.
Yeah.
Or there's a trigger and then they go back
like,
and
shut down.
Then the rumination starts, and then they beat themselves up. And I can tell you straight up, look, those of you listening, watching Mandy's show, we all make mistakes. And, you know, we've been hearing that. And I know how it feels when it's you that does it. I get it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes making mistakes. We're striving for this perfect behavior, right?
Yes.
Get over it.
Yes.
You know, the mistakes they're like the, you know, what was the one I heard the other day? They're like the building or the stepping stones, you know, to success. And I heard another one too I love. You know, let me tell you about my 30-year overnight success. You know, patience is probably the biggest thing in anything that we do in our lives, because nothing is really on our own schedule. Nothing.
No.
It's something that's divine.
Yes.
And if you push, you're going to get pushed back.
Oh yeah.
If you completely surrender to the process,
and
you're authentic and you're genuine about it, the process will take you on a ride that you can't even imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm still doing that, you know. So so that's kind of my story. So here I am, you know, I'm a podcaster too. I do Straight Out Combat Radio, which interviewing combat veterans and to try to dispel the negative stereotype of our veterans. And then I've interviewed men and women, and from privates all the way to general officers. And that's been a great show. Been kind of on a hiatus to get settled in my place here in Virginia. But then I do Task Force N, very sporadic as well. But that was to talk to movers and shakers in the holistic healing world.
Yes.
Which was part of my journey, plant medicines too. I tried the usual pills to get the insomnia and the mood swings under control, and it made it worse for me.
Oh yeah.
But CBDs and microdosing with psilocybin, there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of myths that need to be dispelled. They basically saved my life.
Yes.
It's lucky to find a doctor here in the state of Florida who prescribed pharmaceutical grade CBDs, and then microdosing the psilocybin, and it worked. It got me out of an ego state, and it helped me to get the rest that I needed to repair the brain that had been damaged.
Yes.
But that's part of it too. And it's different for everyone, but I think that building that network of support is important. So we have self-love and self-forgiveness and divinity, you know, believing in something higher than ourselves.
Yes.
And I believe that there's an unspoken universal law. The universe operates, you know, it's been around for a long time. And it's probably seen everything.
Yeah.
And you know, what you put in your life is what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And when we finally leave the egos at the door and humble ourselves before something bigger than ourselves, and the universe is pretty big, could be God, could be a religion, certain spiritual practice, But I think that that's an important stepping stone to resiliency and healing. And then the network that I can't stress enough. We all know who those one or two friends are that have our backs.
Yes.
And I reconnected with a few people, and just very fortunate that they cared enough about me to be there for me.
Yes.
And that was part of it. And then the dreamsicle. I laugh about the dreamsicle, and it's important to get on your dreamsicle and ride through the clouds of your dreams, because everybody still has dreams, or we have dreams, and where you want to be, and what were you doing, and who were you with when you really felt on top of your game.
Yes.
And I've met people that have gotten on that dreamsicle and made some important changes, and they've left jobs, they've changed their lives because they realize that they're on a dead end path.
Yes.
And unless they make that change, they're going to continue with the same behavior or reacting to the triggers. But that's important, and actually developing a plan. And I know we got short time, but a plan and what are those dreams? How do you plan to get there? And then executing it, actually getting started.
Yeah.
But anyhow, these are all methodologies that, the wisdom's out there.
Yeah.
You're in that business, right, Mandy? And,
yeah.
So whatever works for you. I found myself, just hungry for self-help books.
Yes.
And then there comes a point, self-help, and all great people, because they really want to help you.
Yeah.
Some work, some don't. But you take what works for you, and then finally you just say to yourself, you got to do something.
Yeah.
You just got to, you've got to get out there and you've got to live your life. And
yes,
I got to tell you, we see what's going on right now, I guess, in Afghanistan, and it's the result of leadership.
Yeah.
And this is really about leadership when you get right down to it. It's personal leadership that starts with you.
Yes.
And then spreads into the home.
Yes.
And then maybe your community, and then work, and then your state maybe, and then your country, and then the planet. We all have I believe a leadership duty.
Yes, I agree.
To be part of society.
Yeah.
And to somehow give back.
Yes.
To the people that we're all kind of in the same boat. I find that, take football, for instance.
Yeah.
People fight about football, right? They're kicking and scratching each other about which team is better. And in that battle, they lose sight that they both love football.
Yes. Yeah.
And doesn't that seem like so many disagreements with people about certain things is we don't recognize our commonalities.
Yes.
Our human interaction. And it causes problems, there's some deep subjects. Anyhow, I'm sorry I just ran off, but I don't know. Ask me something and I'll see if I got an answer. I'm not an expert.
It's great, because what's happened is, as you were going through that, I was thinking, that's awesome. That's something I was going to ask him about. That's something that I was going to ask him about. So this is great. You're kicking ass. I'm good. It's fantastic. So,
okay.
But I would really, because I know that you're very passionate about empowering men. So I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that, and men and resilience, and also your work with veterans as well. I'd love to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The veteran culture, it's a warrior culture.
Yeah.
We are trained as a team.
Yeah.
And individual skills, and we have missions, and the missions have to be accomplished, and we can accomplish missions even when we lose people.
Yes.
And like I stated earlier, I'm a non-combat veteran. Which actually was good for the show, because I wasn't always trying to one up the veterans on the show.
Yeah.
But I could speak the language.
Yes.
And veterans, the female veterans too, they're trained in the same culture. Yeah. And we don't like to show weakness, so we're trained not to show weakness.
Yes.
There are chaplains, in the military, and it always seemed funny to me to go to church, when you're being trained to do other things that maybe aren't so spiritual, right?
Yes.
These low vibrational killing states.
Yeah.
But the working with veterans, veterans are people just like non-veterans that have been put in sometimes extraordinary conditions and environments, and they've had to deal with it.
Yeah.
We all deal with things from time to time, and just so happens that a lot of veterans who are combat veterans deal with things that the average human being never has an idea about or never has to deal with.
Yes.
But make no mistake, a disfigured combat veteran, and even one that's not disfigured, has something in common with a divorced person, and something in common with a person that's lost their favorite job, or a sexually assaulted child, or a person that's been involved in an accident with a head injury. They've all suffered trauma to some extent. And when you think about that, that 35% of the planet has suffered at least one trauma in their lives, even the death of a loved one. And up to 70%, it's 70% or more has suffered through one trauma. And it's up to 35% multiple traumas. So Mandy, you have a target-rich environment. It's a broken world. Let's just be honest. It's an emotionally broken world in so many respects. So the veteran culture needs to know it's a brotherhood and sisterhood. That it's okay to express. In fact, it's the only healthy way of dealing with trauma sometimes, is to express emotions about it. If you keep them bottled up, they're only going to lead to not so good things. And so it's okay to reach out. We know suicide rates are much higher in the veteran population than the non-veteran population. And I think that the warrior culture has a lot to do with that. But I believe that the truest warrior, the bravest warrior, the warrior that's most in tune, is the one that expresses love and gratitude for themselves first, and then for the rest of society. And I think that the time has come. I really feel like this global transformation starting to take place, that people are realizing that there's more to life than a big house, a fast, fancy car, the Rolex watch. I love Rolex watches. I don't own one, but I'm sure they're nice. But I think that we're starting to figure out, and that these things are all nice to have if you can afford them, and you're fortunate to do that. But at the same time, they don't love you back. And love to me is the greatest. And I'm not talking about the creepy kind of love that is so embraced by the rest of the world, by most, and I'm talking about that divine, real concern and empathy and compassion for a fellow human being. And guess what, guys? Regardless of how we've been taught, the Neanderthal mindset, the warrior, it's okay to open somebody's car door. It's okay to tell another man, I love you. It's okay to put your jacket on the ground and let somebody a lady walk over it. It sounds kind of hokey, but Amy Vanderbilt's book of etiquette is a phenomenal read. And imagine that if we were able to get more etiquette back in our day-to-day existence. That was required reading in one of my marketing classes, and I thought the female teacher was just nuts. Here I am, 19-year-old. Amy Vanderbilt's book of etiquette. This is a marketing class, really? That was many, many years ago, but some of those things stuck. And a little bit of etiquette every day goes a long way to make the world a better place. So next time when you're in Perth and you're stuck in traffic, and somebody wants to cut in, let them cut in. Don't flip them off. And I'm saying that facetiously, but you'd be amazed at how great that makes you feel, and how that other person feels. Just that little nicety.
And I think it makes you feel good. I've always been very courteous and cautious driver anyway. And it's interesting when you see someone just like losing it and they're trying to get in, and all of a sudden no one's helping them. Everyone's sort of like giving them the finger and everything like that. And then I will be courteous and just go, come on, it's cool. And then like you can see them like going, oh, thank God. Oh, you know, and then they're like waving to you like with relief that someone's been nice to them, you know, but it makes you feel good, and it helps their day as well. The ripple effect of a bit of kindness, you know, it goes a long way, right?
No, it does, Mandy. You're right. And it's like you say, they don't expect it, or, you know, even walking down the sidewalk sometimes, and you say hey to somebody, and sometimes they just kind of look away, and a simple hello can go a long way. But if enough people start doing that, you know, it's kind of like the, you know, reducing electricity. I can't make a difference. No. But if, you know, one person shuts off the light in the room when they're not in it, might not seem like a big deal.
Yes.
But if everybody in that neighborhood is doing it, then it spreads out to the city. And then if everybody starts doing one nice thing a day.
Yes.
Can you imagine if you just had a nice day, a global nice day?
Yeah.
Just do something nice for one person. Imagine if 9 billion people did that.
Wow.
You could shift the equator. You probably tilt an angle or something, you know, a degree. But could you talk about paradigm shifts?
Yes.
Imagine if
that's what I was thinking when you said that. Yeah.
What's today? Oh, make it like a really cool day, you know, but this is the kindness day, the International Kindness Day. There might be one, I don't know. But imagine if we had an International Etiquette Day, where you got you chose 10 different things that you could do, and you get to choose, so you're empowering yourself to be nice. And then the whole planet does it for one day. I am telling you, the universe would reward us. And what a day that would be. I would look forward to it. We would have celebrations that just blow away New Year's.
Yeah, it'd be so exciting, right?
I can't wait, you know. I can't wait to be nice tomorrow. Then again, why not be nice today, you know? So anyway. So and then go ahead.
No, go for it.
So the other concept so we want to talk about veterans. And what was the other
about empowering men? And I do believe it with the whole etiquette thing. It's really just respect anyway. Right.
Absolutely. I can tell you guys straight up.
Yeah.
And a lot of you probably already do this, but you probably don't do it enough. If you were to tell that one special person in your life, guy, gal, you know, this isn't about sex. This is about gender.
Yeah.
If you tell that one special person that you love them.
Yeah.
And mean it. Don't just say, I love you. Remember how that goes down, right? If you literally tell that one person that you feel special, that you love them, that's how it starts.
Yeah. Yes.
And then maybe it starts with you telling yourself in the mirror that you love yourself. And I'm not talking about cockiness and arrogance. I'm talking about true divine love for who you are, because it sounds so cliche when we say we're so unique, and you know, we're not as unique as we think. You know, we all do kind of the same things, and most humans have the same desires. We want safety. We want to take care of our families. We want to be nice to people. We want to have a profession that we can be passionate about and proud of. And if we have children, we want to show them and lead them in the right direction by example. We want to be integral. And all the things that we read about, you know, you know, but storms are going to come. You know, you're not immune. Just because you're doing everything right doesn't mean that you're not going to have a challenge from time to time. You know, and then we blame the universe. Oh, my life is just crap. You know, I'm doing everything right. Nothing seems to be working out. I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, that's where resiliency comes in. And perseverance and patience, which is tough to learn, especially if you want things done like now. 21st century. Why isn't she answering me? You know, what's going on here? Get out of my way. You know, I need my food now. I think that's all by design. I think the universe makes it that way to teach us patience.
Yes.
So, men, just get real with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you're probably stronger than the opposite sex, and you know, physically,
Yeah.
but emotionally, I think we've got a lot of work to do, fellas.
Yeah.
I think that Mandy is certainly on the right path here to help men start to develop some skill sets that help them to lead better lives.
Yeah.
And that's really the message to men. You know, we can do it. And I say, you know, it's got to be up to the men to put the kind back into mankind.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be us guys, because there's a lot of women that are not too happy right now.
Yeah.
And one of my female colleagues told me, I don't know, about 4 months ago, we were in a conversation about masculinity and femininity in the workplace. And she's like, John, women are pissed.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't show it, but they're pissed. And I'm like, pissed about what?
Yeah.
Pissed that guys aren't stepping up. And I said, what do you mean? She says, guys aren't stepping up. They're not taking the male role that the universe has given them. They're weenies. They're going part of the way, but they're not going the full way.
Yeah.
And then they're hiding
behind. Guys are confused though, because, you know, like I speak to guys and they go, and so many, when I'm speaking to them, they're confused and they're going, well, you know, the women are saying that we're, you know, they want us to be like this. And then when we do that, we try to be a bit softer with them, then they're like saying, where's your balls, man up? You know what I mean? And all this. And they go, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree. Men are confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, but let me say, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is also, the confusion is because of the role, you know.
Yes.
As a male, it's okay to be masculine because that's what we are about. But it's also okay to have feminine traits. And that doesn't mean that you're any less than.
Yes.
That means, you know, so when you start to evolve as a human, and we talk about vibrational states and all this, and you know, I'm so totally inspired by guys that are in tune with their feminine side, because that's an artistic side and an emotional side, and it's okay to be all those things. And you're right, the confusion starts because the world says, no, we really can't be that way. And then women, y'all need to put it in a context at times.
Yes.
You know, sometimes there might be a reason that guy's not reaching down and grabbing him. Maybe he's scared.
Yes.
Maybe he's fearful.
Yes.
Maybe he has a moment of indecision. Doesn't mean that he's weak.
No.
He's trying to work it out in his own way.
Yeah.
So be patient, and you know, it boils down to, you said it a little while ago, Mandy, self-respect and respect.
Yes.
But also patience. Just be patient with each other.
Yes.
And I can tell you, so she told me that, and I'm starting to think about this. And so men are weak. They're not stepping up. What does she mean by that? And what I really think she means is that we've lost our calling. We've lost our way. We're not in tune with the real purpose in life.
Yes.
You know, who wants to work? And I'm not dissing who wants to work the proverbial 9 to 5?
Yes.
Day in, day out. You punch the clock. You know, I will bet you that if we were to develop a questionnaire in all the languages of the world, and we gave it to people, primarily men, and we asked them if they were following their true passion in life, I would bet you big bucks. I'm usually not a betting man unless I know that's right.
Yeah.
But I would bet you that it would be such a high percentage of people answering no.
Yeah.
It would just blow us away.
Yeah.
So think about that, man. Think about the ramification of that. Think about 1 million people in the town of Perth.
Yeah.
That are not following their calling in life.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're driving to work. They know they have to punch the clock, and somebody pulls in front of them, and what happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
They lose it.
Yeah,
A
because
lot
they're
of this
already
anger,
frustrated and unhappy that they're going somewhere that they don't want to be going to.
don't really want to be going to.
Yeah, yeah.
Think about that in the Western, in the modern world, with
Yeah.
all of the stuff that we have.
Yeah.
Libraries full of books on self-help.
Yeah.
That we don't have a happier world.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
We got the wrong messaging out there. We have people in positions of leadership that probably really don't want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you're unhappy to begin with because you're not following your calling, how are you ever going to be nice to somebody of the opposite sex?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
who wants to go home to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? So
Yeah.
I just think that it has to do with, it's different for everybody. I get that.
Yes.
But when you get right down to it,
yeah,
don't live by somebody else's standard or somebody else's narrative. Now we're talking about narratives, right?
Yes.
Follow your heart.
Yeah.
You have gut feelings.
Yes.
They didn't just fall out of, your back pocket. They came from somewhere.
Yes.
Your intuition will save your life.
Yes.
It's a biological brain fight or flight.
Yes.
But pay attention to your intuition. If something doesn't feel right,
yes,
probably because it isn't right for you.
That's right. And even
One
if
of
you're
my-
in a situation, whether that be work or, we're using sort of like a job as an example or whatever, if you're in a situation like that you're going to every day and you're really just not happy being there, if you can find some way that you can be purposeful while you're there, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. No, you're
at least
correct.
that'll give you some gratitude. It'll bring just an awesome vibe to yourself each day that you can then start using that to work towards something else, because you don't know what opportunities and doors and things you can open for yourself just by being and operating at that energy, right? In that energy. And, people notice that.
Absolutely. That's a good point, Mandy. That's a very good point. Vibrational states.
Yeah.
And, the chakras, and it's not woo woo. I mean, this is real stuff. This is not nonsense. There's a science to this. Everybody's talking about quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all of this, but there's so much truth there.
Yes.
Your vibrational state, if you operate in grief and anger and pain and sorrow and suffering and malice, is going to be so low. Nobody's going to want to be around you.
Yeah.
But if you operate in bravery and courage, which is the stepping off point, and then you get into love and you get into things like compassion and empathy, you operate up there, what you just said, Mandy.
Yeah.
And then you attract. Oh, wow. The law of attraction. That's another one. The law of attraction is quantum physics. It's science.
Yes.
If you're happy and you smile, I can guarantee it, you're going to attract happy, smiling people.
Yes. Yeah.
And guess what? The red apple is like swimming in a sea of mediocrity.
Yes.
But guess what? He's red.
Yeah.
She's red.
Yeah.
Be the red apple.
Yeah.
Be the red apple.
Yes.
Always maintain that energy.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, one of these green apples might need to ripen up a bit, right?
Yeah.
So be the red apple.
Yeah.
Raise your vibration. Be happy.
Yes.
And if you're not happy, but determine why you're not happy. I always say, discover your core habits, your core values.
Yes.
What are your core values? What are the 3 to 5 or 7 things that you believe about yourself and how you feel about the world around you? Well, I believe honesty is important.
Yes.
I believe that I need to be respectful to others.
Yes.
Write down your core values and live by them.
Yes.
It's easier said than done.
You know where you want to operate from. And, I know even with my clients that we, get them to create what their inner resilience or their stance looks like, so that they can always have that as their guideline, because it does everything from help set you boundaries to knowing where you want to operate from. And if things aren't congruent with where that is, because that comes from you, right? That's from within here. It's not an external thing. That if, things aren't congruent with that, it kind of gives you a guideline of like, so what decision am I going to make here now? It gives you an inner freedom. It gives you permission to be able to operate from here straight off the bat, which helps build resilience. It's just part of the building blocks of that, because it makes you stronger within yourself.
You're so spot on, Mandy, and you're right. And if you're not living those value sets, it's called misalignment.
Yes.
And something always seems out of whack. And if you get off of that, find a way to get back there. One of my best friends, combat veteran, true story, they wanted me to run for a county commission office down in Florida. And I went to a luncheon with a bunch of really wealthy power people.
Yeah.
And basically what they said, and I'm not going to give away any names, but basically what they told me is, you're going to win the election because of your personality.
Yeah.
And you can tell people anything you want to get into office. Then I'm paraphrasing.
Yes, yeah.
But once you get into office, you can kind of do what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And immediately my combat veteran buddy who I took with me kicks me underneath the table.
Yeah,
right.
I can imagine,
I didn't say anything. I said, "Oh, think about that. These are people with a lot of money that wanted to fund a campaign, right?"
Yes.
So it didn't align. There was a misalignment there.
Yeah.
And when we got back into his truck, he says to me, "They lost you, didn't they?" And I said, "They absolutely did. That's not a game that I want to play."
No.
And so made the decision, spoke to some of the people the next day and said, "I don't think I'm ready to run for office right now."
Yeah.
And within a couple of hours, the coconut telegraph travels fast in the city. And I got a call from one of the county commissioners, and he says, "I'm so," one that was sitting county commissioner.
Yeah.
"I am so proud of you, John." He said, "because that you made that decision." He said, "If you ever run for public office, get your own team and do it on your own merit."
Yes.
Because those people would have been in your office within 60 days wanting a payback.
Yeah.
And
I would have ended up being the puppet, right?
Exactly. And then this doesn't happen in a small town. I mean, it's like, who are you beholden to? Are you beholden to somebody else's core values? Or are you beholden to your own?
Yeah.
But I do want to stress that it's easier said than done, because we all want to be liked.
Yeah.
We all want to be accepted.
Yes.
How far will you go? How much of your soul will you sell to the devil?
Yes.
To go against your own core value sets?
Yes. Yeah.
And if you can do that, then great. More power to you. I wish you all the success and fulfillment in your life.
Yeah.
But I will bet you that if you're beholden to somebody else's core values and not your own, or somebody else's agenda, you are never going to be fulfilled in life, and you will kick yourself.
And it's exhausting. Right? So exhausting.
Who wants that? So find out, write down your core values, fellas and ladies too, and live by them.
Yeah.
And if you're not used to doing that, just, be patient.
Yeah.
It will have its just rewards.
Yes.
And sometimes it might not happen immediately.
Yes.
But it'll happen. And don't ever give up. Now, that's another story I can share, is that when I was really in a bad place, my wife had just left me. There was a freeze on all of our accounts.
Yes.
The attorneys do these things.
Yes, I can imagine.
And I called a really good friend who is a very, 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 very wealthy person who owns a professional American football team. He's a friend of mine, and I called him. He lives in a different city, and he says to me, "John, what do you need? What do you need?" And I told him $25,000. He says, "Done. That's all you really need?" I said, "That's all I really need to do." I got it, and I paid him back.
Yeah.
But he gave me the best advice that anybody's ever given me. And it's so cliche at times. He says, "I know you. I know who you are. Keep going."
Yeah.
2 words. And here I was, a grown man, crying to him on the phone.
Yeah.
Literally. And he heard it. I cried on his shoulder.
Yes.
He wrote me a check. I had a $25,000 check.
Yeah.
That following Monday.
Yeah.
And then I paid him back.
Yeah.
That's what you do. People loan you money, you pay them back.
Yeah.
And then, but my point is that don't ever give up.
Yes.
Don't ever give up when you think the chips are down. And that's why I talked about your network.
Yeah.
If you have a person like that in your life, and I love this man dearly,
yeah.
not going to give him away, but he has given away tens of millions of dollars to charities. And
yeah.
his buddy John asked him for 25,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he doesn't like to be known. But if you have a person like that in your life, or people like that are there for you when you need them the most, then you are a truly blessed human being.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're not connected with those people, but you know who they are, reach out to them. That's another thing that men can do right now to become empowered. Yes. It could be a fellow you haven't talked to in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Track them down, call them,
yeah.
and tell them how much you appreciated them as a friend.
Yes.
It could be a female too. Yeah. I have, probably doesn't make my wife happy, but I have a lot of female friends. Yeah. None of that, but
yeah.
But I respect that. And
yes.
I've had so many cool women in my life that have given me some of the best advice ever. Yes. And so you have ladies in your network too, and appreciate that. Yes. But yeah, so that's how you can empower yourself. Do something nice every day.
Yeah.
Write down your core values. Remember your friends and family.
Yes.
So you may not have told them recently how much you care about them. And then just do it.
Yeah.
Don't think about doing it. Gosh, if I had a nickel for every thought that I wanted to do, I probably would. I'd have nickels behind me, in a big barrel, but just do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Start today.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't want you to go out there and quit your job tomorrow. I'm not saying to do that, put yourself in financial stress.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is find a way to reconnect with what really makes you tick.
Yes.
You know what makes you tick,
Yeah.
You're working with men all the time, Andy. So, ask them, and I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
What makes you tick?
Yeah.
And if you're not ticking right now, you better find a way, because it's a ticking time bomb.
It is. It's true. And I'm with the, like even with my friends, but also men that I coach as well. That is very important. That's something that we dig into, because they feel like they've lost their mojo, right? Big time in all areas of their life, and they feel really unfulfilled. They feel like they've one bloke actually said to me he felt like a dying dog that just kept getting kicked in the guts.
And that feels horrible.
That is anguish, right? Right there. It's just,
and that's a low vibrational state to be in too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys like that. I mean, there's guys that maybe aren't feeling as bad as that too. And even the ones that aren't, they're still feeling unfulfilled. They're still struggling inside because they've got so much stuff bottled up inside them. They feel like, they've got to be up there taking care of everything, be the protector, have all these roles that they've got to play, right? But they feel like that they can never let anyone see them suffer at any stage. And so they can't tell anyone, and they can't tell their mates, because their mates just say to them, you'll be right, mate, get over it.
Get on with it, yeah.
And so they've got, there's shame around actually opening up and having conversations.
What a horrible way to live, feeling like a kicked dog. You just reminded me of something that I think is another technique that helped a great deal.
Yeah. I
downloaded an app on my phone, these 1-minute meditations.
Yeah.
Amy Rice or something. But they were 1-minute meditations. And every time I started to feel anguish.
Yes.
Or I got triggered, or I was feeling angry or uncertain or doubt, I literally would walk to a quiet place. I'm not saying doing while you're driving, pull over, but I would get somewhere, and I would go to my app on my phone.
Yeah.
And it was a 60-second guided meditation.
Yeah.
And when I was in the thick of my deepest, darkest hours, I found myself clicking that 25, 30 times a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more.
Yeah.
And I would center myself.
Yes.
And that actually helped. That was part of the resiliency program too, I guess.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it at the time, but that mindfulness, we all hear so much about mindfulness and ooh, wow, living in the moment. What's that really mean? It means that you can't change yesterday. And so why you trying? Why you beating yourself up? If you made a mistake and you hurt somebody, tell them you're sorry. Get on with it. There you can say, get on with it. And you think that the robins, the birds are worried about their worms for tomorrow? No, they're enjoying themselves today, flying all over the place. So quit worrying about tomorrow. That'll wrinkle itself out. Think about right now.
And I think too, there's a bit of a misconception about the whole living in the moment, right? Because people think that means they've got to go skydiving, and it means that they've got, like it's where it's really about just wherever you are right in this moment.
And if you're not feeling good, and guess what? There's probably 5 or 6 times a day we don't feel good about something. So don't feel good. Just recognize it for what it is. And again, it's easier said than done. Darn it. But so don't feel good for 3 minutes. Just don't walk off the ledge. Deal with not feeling good. The storms in life. That's, one thing. Let me share this poem. This is one of my poems, right?
Yes. I'd love to hear it.
It's called The Last Storm Prayer. I was thinking about this. This is about, let me see. I guess if I was to, well, you figure out what it means.
Okay.
But it's called The Last Storm Prayer.
Okay, I like it.
There's a storm brewing. I am praying again for this one to pass. Yes, I hear distant thunder echoing another warning. Flashes of crackled light reveal the majesty of the heavens above me. I've sat here before in this place, watching the droplets, mouth wide open, hands joined, praying to the prophets outside my circle, asking to be spared one last time. Poetry and creative writing was a way for me to kind of deal with things, but the last storm prayer, we go through those all the time. And that's living in the moment. That's sitting down in your circle. And it's putting your hands above or whatever. It's opening your mouth and it's tasting the droplets from that storm. Because the storm's going to pass. The rains don't last forever. And so it's going to happen. You're going to have challenges. They're not going away just because today you decide you're going to be nice for the rest of your life. You're still going to have somebody cut in line. You're still going to have somebody probably maybe flip you off at times. But it's not the end of the world.
No.
Doesn't have to ruin your day.
No.
Maybe a little compassion or empathy for that person. Maybe that person just lost their parent.
You don't know.
You don't know what people are going through, but you do know this, that everybody's been through some kind of trauma in their life. And when we start measuring, guys are so funny. Mine's bigger than yours. And so what? This whole competition thing. That's another thing. That's another subject, Mandy. But in retirement, what's retirement? Seriously. Retirement is a new phenomenon in the Western world. When you become too old and too useful, they just move you on out. How many people work their whole lives? They get to retirement and then they're dead within 3 years.
I know. Yes. And it happens heaps with men.
It's pathetic, and then these men are not, I'm 62 years old. I'm useful, people. I'm going to go until I'm 85, 90, 100. Whatever the universe blesses me with.
I feel the same. Like when it's your purpose, it's your purpose. You'll just find another way to keep doing your purpose, right?
So they leave their high-powered jobs that they hated anyways. And they start building birdhouses. And there's nothing wrong with building birdhouses, but really, that guy building birdhouses has so much passion or skill sets that the world can still use. And every day he builds a birdhouse, he just feels less and less and less of himself. So
unless that is something that he's always wanted to do, or he likes
that's true.
to do that for creativity, and it helps. It's nearly like a meditation for him type thing.
I'm passing no judgment. I'm just using that as a metaphor. But you know, if, you know what I'm saying. If you know, retirement to me is like, it's great.
Yeah.
That's what you like. All I can say is retirement is a relatively new phenomenon in the working world. It used to be you worked until you dropped. And my mother-in-law was a CPA, accountant, bookkeeper, and she worked and retired at 90.
Yeah.
So we can do this. You know, find what your life's passion is, put together the plan.
Yes.
Believe in a higher power, a spiritual side of life.
Yeah.
And just get her done. Build your network. Get the people in your life that you need to have around you. Because who's in your corner, who's in your bushel means a lot.
Yes.
And be resilient. You know, you've got this one go around in the physical sense, right? I still think that that's a spiritual thing. I still think that you have an opportunity to live forever and your life force never goes away, but get it done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late to get started.
Yeah. And I think too, there's this, people think that, because everyone wants to make everything happen fast, right? And so whether it, you know, be something that they're passionate about that feels very purposeful for them, and they see other people that are doing purposeful things and are maybe like making a whole heap of money out of it, or you know, there's a different image of it compared to what they're experiencing of it. And I think the thing is that if you are very much in the moment with it, but I think, you know, the return that you're going to get back on that is going to be different for everyone, right? Depending on what it is that you're doing. And I think when you open yourself up, take the blinders off for yourself and just go, I'm open to opportunities and miracles and blessings, whatever they may be. You don't know what's going to come from any of those things that come into your life, right? And so being able to just let go of how something might look like in regards to what you want to do with your purpose, taking baby steps for that too, because baby steps always creates momentum. It doesn't always feel like that. It doesn't feel as maybe fantastic and epic as what someone else might be doing. But by doing that, by taking those baby steps, staying on track and opening yourself up to blessings and miracles, then there could be something that someone else is doing that might seem purposeful. They might be making a lot of money out of it, but they may not even be that happy, and you just don't know that. They may have their blinders on and you don't have to, you know. So I think, you know, we really need to be able to give ourselves a break about how we envision what we want and allow ourselves to be true creators of our own life and what we want to bring into it.
No, that's a fantastic observation, and it's true. And you just made me think of something, you know, and social media platforms can be great tools.
Yeah.
But they can also be great soul stealers.
Yes.
Because, you know, you see, you know, I'm having lunch, you know, in Madrid.
Yeah.
And here we are looking out over this beautiful balcony, and man, that looks good. And here I am. It's raining outside and I'm at my job and I'm counting widgets.
Yeah.
And so we always get into this, remember competition we were talking about, we always get into this comparative state of mind. And that's great. You know, what we need to be doing is saying, awesome.
Yeah.
They're in Madrid and look where I'm at. This isn't too bad either. You know, you know, we need to, this comparative stuff that social media has done to some people is ungodly. I'm just saying that, you know. But and like you say, Mandy, we don't know how they really feel. Maybe they don't feel good and they're trying to put something out there to feel good.
Yeah.
And I always say the people that you don't see on social media are probably really living their lives.
Yeah.
And whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
And they could be miserable, they could be happy, but no slight to anybody and no judgment, but it's great if you're doing something and you're sharing what you're eating wherever you are in the world. I think that's absolutely great, and it's your choice to do that. And but you who are watching that, don't compare yourself to that happy moment for them.
Yes.
because if you were to dig into your, your suitcase of memories, or you're going to find that you've done a lot of happy things too.
Yeah.
And maybe you haven't shared them because you're shy, but think about your happy times. I was thinking I mountaineered for about 12 years. I led guided trips to the Andes, and I climbed 26 high altitude mountains. And not many people know that. My wife knows it, and the people that I've climbed with know it. But I can assure you, I have stood on the planet Earth, and I have witnessed the curvature of the Earth from 25, 26 different peaks. And it's the most phenomenal thing. It's like you're flying an airplane, but your feet are on the ground.
Yeah.
I never shared any of those moments with anybody. I've got photographs, and it doesn't mean that you can't share your moments. But my point is that you have happy moments too. That you may or may not choose to share with people, but think about your own happy moments. So when we've all got them, think about the things that you've accomplished in your life and the experiences that you've had. You don't have to share them with everybody. Maybe you're private. So that's what I always do. Whenever I see something like that, I'm happy for those people that are sharing it. I never feel less of myself. Took me a while to learn this technique. This didn't happen overnight, because I still would love to be in Madrid having a sandwich right now. but I've got my own special moments that if I were to share them, people might look at me and go, holy cow. That guy has done some cool things. And we've all done them. So, and I have skydived, and I have been in the tank, with the fishes, and, so we've all got those moments. Don't compare yourself to other people's happy moments. Be happy for them.
That's it. And comparison, whether that be like with men or just in general anyway, is a big deal, right? It really does affect how we think. And there's a lot of shame in that as well, like shaming ourselves in that, when it comes down to that. Because I know even in, when I think back to like when I was younger, and, like I had mainly male friends, and I'd sit around there and the guys would all be like this big conversations. And then one of them would, wander off, and then all of them would wander off, and there'd just be like one or two sitting there. And that's when we would have like really deep conversations. It was usually like, that's when they'd really tell us with what was going on in their lives and stuff like that, which they wouldn't say around the other guys, right? Because they were so busy doing this big conversation.
No, I get it.
Comparisons,
true.
And trying to one up each other and things. And I think we have really been programmed to be like that, to compare and to feel so we end up feeling so insecure about ourselves, right, when we're seeing that type of thing.
No, you're right. My wife has helped me tremendously about not being in that one-up stage. Or when I'm in that moment, she's around and she says, he's doing that, and that's great, but John, think about the things that you've done. And so I had great inspiration from my wife, and we can help each other get through those moments of inadequacies. And men, you're right, probably feel them more so because of societal pressures, but it's society pressuring you to put pressure on yourself. And we don't have to one up anybody, and we just don't have to. That's something that I think has gotten ingrained in the modern society. Remember the sense of community. Think about the days of old, when there was a sense of community and everybody was in the same boat. And you had to protect the neighborhood or protect the tribe, or, we're all tribal. If you go way back to the beginning of humankind, we all come from somewhere. My mother's side is Irish, and my father's side is Eastern European, Croatian, Slavic. And we existed in tribes in a sense of community. In the modern age, because the tribes have migrated across the entire globe, we've lost some of our identities. And so tribal Islam is a whole different thing. We could talk about that, but tribes, we hear it now. We hear the word thrown around, tribes, But if we think about it long enough, that sense of identity comes from somewhere tribal.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why I've always been so attracted to Ayers Rock there in Australia, because that's like a cosmic place where tribes used to hang out.
Yes.
And there was a sense of community. But in a global situation, in the modern world, we don't even know who lives in our neighborhoods anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a connection too.
Yes.
That helps with life fulfillment. So I'm living up in this neighborhood in Virginia, and it's in a neighborhood, and we've got like 60 homes out here, and I've met most of the neighbors, but there is such a sense of community here that I didn't find in my city back in Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah.
With being so transient. So, identify with your tribe and your community, I think helps too in resiliency. Don't know how we got there, but that, anything that you can do to self-improve is only going to help. We've all heard of Napoleon Hill, right?
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, and I listen to them all with my wife, and there's like a 17-hour Napoleon Hill Keys to Mastery, right? Yeah. They are phenomenal. Listen, and this is like in the 1930s, this guy's talking quantum physics, nearly 100 years ago. Those things are so awesome to listen to, but also the TED Talks.
Yes.
I don't know how many of your clients listen to the TED Talks, but it's a good technique to listen to a TED Talk once a day about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll get so inspired, you'll go, wow, maybe I can do a TED Talk. But just listening to other human beings.
Yeah.
And what they've been through and what they're going through helps too. It may not alleviate your own pain, but it gives you a reference point to know that you're not alone.
And it gives you insight as well. That
I
can
think
maybe apply to your own situation. Yeah.
Absolutely. Resiliency, when I get right down to it now, after we've been talking, I've probably been doing most of it, but is that we're not alone.
Yeah.
That's probably it. That apple, though he's red,
and
he's been through some trauma, he's ripening actually.
Yeah.
And he's not alone. He's still in there with the rest of the apples.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So yeah, we've talked about a lot of cool things today.
Yeah, we definitely have. And I was going to ask you too, before we wrap up, how are people able to reach you? Because I'll include things in the posts as well, but also do you have any specific sites or anything that you would like to tell us about today? Like, is there a package that you're offering at the moment, or a specific website? Or because I had a quick look when you messaged me and I was like, oh my God, I would. I wanted to know more about those things that you were messaging me through. And even because you were telling us, is it the book that you've written? It's got that photo on the front.
Yes, that's one of the books. I've got a couple of books, but the show is. I hope people have listened this long, and I'm sure they have, because you're such a fantastic soul.
Yeah.
So thank you to the listeners and the viewers of your show. For spending this time with Mandy and me, because it means a lot. And hopefully we were able to touch at least one person, one apple, maybe 10 red apples. I don't know. I hope we were able to reach a lot of people, but you can go to my website. It's John, JOHNT, Krotec, KROTC. And Mandy said she'll put it in the show notes.com. Tells you a little bit about my backstory. And then I have a couple of businesses. One of them is GreenZoneHero.com. It's a business directory that has, we give tools to businesses that actually publicly honor freedom.
Yes.
About the things that they do for veterans. And it's kind of like in flatline right now, because the cancel culture has people worried about publicly honoring freedom. And it's amazing how many business leaders that I've talked to this past 6 months that actually are very uncertain about today's world, and how much information they put out there. But that's GreenZoneHero.com.
Awesome.
And then we have a website for nonprofits to help to take the merchandising off of their hands. It's a solution. It's called #planet.co.
Awesome.
And you can check that out too. That's 20 or 21 nonprofits we're working with. We give their management teams time to do their missions rather than worry about selling t-shirts.
Yes.
And that's going pretty cool. So, and then, you know, if you just Google John Krotec and put my name out there, you'll see a lot of the podcasts that I've done, like Straight Outta Combat Radio was on the Heroes Media Group. You know, I interviewed General Flynn and Governor Ron DeSantis and Jeanette Arancibia. She's going to be an admiral in the Navy someday. I can guarantee you that. But Straight Outta Combat Radio is there on Heroes Media Group. And then I've got Aho Radio, A.H.O. Outliers, Authentic Human Outliers, which is a YouTube channel where we just interview really cool people who are making it. We have to get you on there and let you do all the talking. Right? Well, I got a co-host there, Bill Protzman, who does Music Care Incorporated. And he helps people through music by identifying with the songs that they like. And then he figures out, yeah, you'd love this guy. He's a concert pianist and he's a great co-host, but he will take the songs that you like and he can figure out who you are just by the music that you like. It's phenomenal. That's Music Care Incorporated. And then I've just got Voices That Unite, two really fantastic people, human architects, Tucker Stein and Mana Ko, who have a brilliant program to help people get in touch with their calling. And then last but not least, Kaylin Marie Consulting, who is a combat veteran female. Who is just an awesome person. She is a brilliant social media branding person. So I had to mention her too. These are people that I've surrounded myself with who have made my life so fulfilling. And thank you for reaching out, Mandy. I don't know how I know we met on LinkedIn, which is a phenomenal platform, but I'm so grateful to be on your show. And like I said, I hope we helped a bunch of red apples out there today. To just stay in the bushel, keep going and keep ripening, and maybe those green apples will ripen around you. So, and I just pulled that out.
I eat red apples every day, so I'm into red apples. So
awesome. See, you're never going to forget this interview, but I've had a blast. And a lot of this too is, you know, lighten up, be happy, have some fun in your life. You know, we only go around once. And if you're in a bad place, call a friend, you know, talk to that loved one next to you. Let them know how you're feeling. Don't keep it all bottled up, guys. You know, I know I'm a guy, I get it, but you know, quit dragging your knuckles, you know, be human and be a man and whatever that means. We could get into that, but be a man and be a compassionate man, because it goes a lot further than being angry and depressed.
And compassionate with yourself and with others.
So that's my whole life in a nutshell. And, you know, so thank you for letting me share. And again, it means the world to me to be able to help people. So
that's awesome.
My email address too is jkrotec59, it's the year I was born, @gmail.com, and email me with questions or anything you want, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And anything, you know, just keep going. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much today, John, for coming on. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mandy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Hey, beautiful man. If you're going through stress, need insight, direction to lighten the load, brother, and support during these challenging times, reach out to me. It's no secret that there are so many men suffering at the moment, amazing men, and they're so keen to get help, but don't know what that looks like. So I've created a 6-week one-to-one resilience coaching package for men with one-to-one coaching calls and support via Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp in between calls to help put yourself back in the driver's seat of life. And there's a strong level of trust that goes hand in hand with walking by someone's side during their challenges and their celebrations too. And that's what I'm here for, brother. So message me and let's find your path to true resilience.